Another 2 weeks, I muttered, staring at the packed suitcase. Portland. It was a monstrous project, a career maker if I could land it. But God, the timing. It felt like ripping a Band-Aid off a healing wound. You got this, babe, Valerie chirped, her voice a little too bright, a little too enthusiastic. She squeezed my arm, the diamonds on her wedding ring glinting. 8 years. 8 years of us. 8 years of… what? A performance. A slow, simmering disappointment. Valerie, my wife, the woman I'd met in college. She was driven, always had been. An accounting major with a laser focus on success. I was a business major with a safety net. We balanced each other, or so I thought. We married young, right after graduation. A courthouse, dinner paid for by my parents. Her family, well, they were a constant, low-humming stressor. I know, I said, forcing a smile. Just feels like a long time. She stepped closer, a familiar scent of expensive perfume filling my nostrils. Think of the bonus, Jack. Think of what we can do with that kind of money. Her eyes sparkled, not with affection, but with avarice. That's when I started seeing the cracks in my relationship. Her obsession with money was unsettling. It had always been there, but it was intensifying. The promotions every few months, the designer bags, the pressure to keep up, it wasn't about us. It was about appearances, about climbing the ladder. The day before my flight, she played the devoted wife to the hilt. My favorite steak, new luggage, even a rare, passionate encounter in the bedroom. You're going to crush it, she whispered, her fingers tracing the lines on my face. I believe in you. It felt calculated. But I pushed the feeling down, eager to believe, eager to be loved. The plane roared, lifting me away from everything familiar. As the city shrunk below, I felt a knot of anxiety tighten in my chest. This trip. It wasn't just about the project. It was about us. Maybe, just maybe, this success would be enough. Enough to reignite the spark, to silence the nagging voice that whispered, she's not happy. The first week was a blur of meetings, presentations, and frantic emails. The project was even bigger than I'd imagined, but every night there was Valerie. Video calls, sharing our days, the mundane details that, for some reason, felt comforting. How's the office? I'd ask. Crazy? She'd sigh. Everyone's working insane hours. She seemed distant, though. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. The conversations felt rehearsed. I chalked it up to stress, to the demanding nature of her job. The financial world she worked in seemed so cutthroat. Then came the second week, and things went sideways fast. The texts became clipped, one-word responses to my detailed updates. The 30-minute calls dwindled to 5, filled with excuses about exhaustion and early meetings. She was always so tired. During one of our abbreviated video calls, I saw it. A simple change, easily overlooked, but it punched me in the gut. The coral throw pillow. It had been a fixture on our couch for years. Valerie loved that damn pillow. We'd argued about it constantly, over who got to use it, over moving it when guests came over. And now? Gone. Replaced by some slick, modern black and gold monstrosity. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice casual. What happened to the coral pillow? She shrugged, her eyes flicking away from the screen. Oh, that old thing? Just needed a change. A change? Convenient timing. Then I heard it. A laugh. A man's laugh. Faint, muffled, but unmistakably there in the background. My blood ran cold. Who's that? I asked, my voice tightening. Just the TV, she said quickly. Too quickly. Liar! I knew that sound system. I installed it myself. The TV sound came through a Sonos soundbar with very specific audio quality. That was 100% a real person laughing. She ended the call a few minutes later, claiming a headache. Gotta go, she said. Love you. It sounded hollow, empty. The next few days were a descent into madness. She stopped responding to my goodnight texts. Her location sharing, which we both always had on for safety, was suddenly disabled. Her Instagram stories showed snippets of our living room from angles she never used. And in one of them, I could swear I saw a man's watch on our coffee table. I didn't say anything. I didn't confront her. I just watched and waited, a cold, heavy dread settling in my stomach. I tried to work, but my focus was shattered. I knew something was terribly wrong. So, I did the only thing I could do. I finished my work early, booked a flight, and decided to come home. The plane landed at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. I texted her, just landed, like I always did. No response, which was weird. She always replied to that message, had done so for years. It was our thing. The Uber ride home felt like an eternity. I kept checking my phone, refreshing the screen, praying for a text. Nothing. I pulled up to our house, dragging my suitcase up the driveway. The house we'd bought together. The house where we'd built a life. My key, it didn't work. I tried again, thinking I was just tired, disoriented from the flight. The lock was completely different. A deadbolt I didn't recognize. Panic clawed at my throat. What the hell was going on? Then my phone buzzed. A message from Valerie. I found someone better. Don't bother trying to come in. I've moved on. The words hit me like a physical blow. Numbness washed over me. I stared at the security camera above the door, the one I installed myself last summer. The little red light was on, indicating someone was watching the live feed. She was inside, watching me stand there, stranded on my own doorstep, suitcase in hand, probably laughing, enjoying the spectacle with her someone better. 8 years. 8 years of marriage, reduced to a text message. But here's the thing. I didn't feel shocked, or even that upset. I felt weirdly calm, like a part of me had been expecting this all along, like I'd been waiting for it. Instead of pounding on the door, instead of demanding answers, instead of giving her the satisfaction of seeing me break down, I just took a deep breath. I stared directly into the camera, and I typed, "Are you sure about that?" The little typing dots appeared, then disappeared. She was trying to respond, struggling to find the right words. But I didn't wait to hear them. I turned around, grabbed my suitcase, and walked away. No drama, no begging, no emotional breakdown. Just me, wheeling my suitcase back down the driveway like I was checking out of a crummy hotel. As I walked, I could see the typing dots flickering on my phone screen. She was trying to say something, anything. But I didn't care. Valerie didn't realize it, but she'd just stepped into a game she couldn't possibly win. Because what my darling wife didn't realize was that I'd been quietly preparing for this possibility for years. All those doors that magically opened for her career, the investments she thought she controlled, the lifestyle she'd grown so comfortable with. I built it all, and I could tear it all down just as easily. Walking away from my house felt surreal, like I was in a movie, playing the stoic hero who walks away from the explosion without looking back. Except, inside, I was a mess of confusion and simmering rage. I checked into a Holiday Inn about 10 minutes away. Nothing fancy, but I needed a place to crash and figure out my next move. The first thing I did was call Mac. We'd been tight since sophomore year of college. He was my roommate after my first one dropped out. Mac was that friend who knew everyone's business and wasn't afraid to tell you the brutal truth. He was also resourceful as hell. "Dude, where the hell are you?" he asked when he picked up. "Your location shows you at some hotel." I gave him the short version of what had just happened. He went quiet for a minute, then said, "Give me an hour. I'll call you back." While waiting for Mac to work his magic, I decided to do some investigating of my own. Valerie had never been the tech-savvy one in our relationship. I literally had to set up her work email signature for her last year. I tried logging into our shared cloud storage account, and boom, still using the same password I set up 3 years ago. Amateur hour! I started scrolling through recently added photos, and there they were. Dozens of pictures of Valerie with some guy I'd never seen before. In our house, on our couch, My couch that I paid for with my bonus last year. Some of these pictures were from weeks ago, including nights when I was on business trips or working late. There were even a couple from when I was literally on video calls with her. I could see my laptop open in the background while she was cuddled up with this guy. So all those calls where she was so tired and needed to go to bed early? Yeah, she was banging this douchebag in our bed 2 minutes after hanging up with me. The depth of her betrayal burned me. My phone buzzed. It was Valerie. You're taking this better than I expected. No fighting for us? Guess I was right about finding someone better. I didn't respond. Not yet anyway. Mac called back. Okay, bro, got the scoop. Your wife's seeing some guy named Zeke. Works for a competitor, but came in as a client about 3 months ago. They've been spotted all over town. That new wine bar on 7th, the steakhouse downtown, even that Italian place where you guys had your anniversary dinner last year. Classy, I muttered. Gets better, I assume? Mac continued. This Zeke dude has a reputation. My buddy Dom works in the same industry. Says this guy has a pattern. He targets married women who are moving up in their careers, uses them for industry connections and insider info, then ghosts them once he gets what he wants. Done it at least 3 times before. So he's using her, I said, feeling a weird satisfaction. 100%. But she doesn't know that yet. Dom says he plays the perfect boyfriend. Expensive gifts, fancy restaurants, the whole deal. Meanwhile, he's gathering intel to take back to his actual employer. This gave me an idea. I thanked Mac and hung up. Then, I scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I was looking for, Jen. Jen worked with Valerie at the same firm. She was this smoking hot brunette with legs for days and an MBA from Wharton. Valerie had always been insanely jealous of her, constantly complaining about how Jen dressed inappropriately and flirted with everyone's husbands at company events. What Valerie didn't know was that Jen had been low-key flirting with me for years. Nothing I ever acted on, of course. I was faithful to Valerie for our entire marriage, despite having plenty of opportunities. But Jen and I always had this chemistry. She'd find reasons to talk to me at company parties, laugh at all my jokes, touch my arm when we talked. Valerie noticed and hated it. I hit call. Jack? Is everything okay? Jen answered, sounding surprised. Hey, Jen, I said, trying to sound casual. Remember that drink you've been suggesting for the past year? There was a pause. I'm very available tonight. Another pause. Then Jen laughed. Did Valerie finally loosen your leash? Valerie's out of the picture, I said. Permanently. Another pause. That bar on 9th? 8. Oh, perfect, I said, and hung up. I felt like a weight had been lifted. Then I opened the Photos app on my phone again and looked through pictures of Valerie and me. 8 years together. And she threw it all away for some smooth-talking corporate spy. Part of me was angry, but another part was almost relieved. Like maybe I'd been waiting for an excuse to end things. I took a shower, put on my best jeans and button down, and headed to meet Jen. The whole Uber ride there, my phone was blowing up with texts from Valerie. What did you mean by that text, Jack? Please respond. We should talk about this like adults. Are you seriously ignoring me right now? I turned my phone to silent and put it away. Time to start the next phase. Jen was already at the bar when I arrived, looking incredible in this little black dress. She stood up to hug me, and I caught at least 3 dudes giving me envious looks. We grabbed a table and ordered drinks, and for the first time in months, I was actually enjoying a conversation with a woman. Jen was smart, funny, and didn't try to make me feel bad about my job. So, what happened with Valerie? She eventually asked after our second round. I gave her the short version. Her eyes got wider and wider. Holy shit, she said when I finished. What are you going to do? I shrugged, trying to look casual. Move on. Starting tonight. Jen gave me this look that was part sympathy, part something else. Well, for what it's worth, I always thought she didn't appreciate what she had. We took a selfie with our wine glasses, Jen's idea. She posted it to her Instagram with the caption, "Finally got that drink," and tagged the location. I knew damn well Valerie followed her. By the time we finished dinner, which somehow turned into dessert and another round of drinks, Valerie had called me 17 times. I'd ignored every single one. When Jen and I left the restaurant, I suggested walking her home, since it was only a few blocks away. Outside her apartment, she hesitated. "Want to come up?" "No pressure, just it's still early." Part of me thought it was too soon. The other part, the part that saw those pictures of Valerie and Zeke on my couch, thought life was too short. "Love to," I said. By morning, Valerie had blown up my phone with 30-plus messages, ranging from angry to confused to desperate. I ignored them all and posted a new picture to my own Instagram. Just the view from Jen's balcony, with 2 coffee cups visible on the table. Caption: "Great start to a new chapter." After Jen left for work, with plans to meet up again that night, I opened my laptop and started sending emails to some old colleagues. People who might be interested to know about a certain corporate spy named Zeke, who'd been gathering insider information through his relationship with an executive at their competitor. By midnight, I'd set up meetings with 3 different people who could help me systematically dismantle everything. Valerie thought she'd built on her own. She wanted to play dirty? Fine. I invented the game. Here's something that Valerie never figured out. I didn't just help with her career. I basically built the whole damn thing from scratch. 5 years ago, Valerie was stuck as an assistant account manager, making mediocre money and constantly getting passed over for promotions. She'd come home crying like every other week about how Jessica got promoted instead of her, or how they hired some new guy from outside instead of promoting her. Always the victim, never considering that maybe she just wasn't that good at her job. I remember one night, after another crying session about being overlooked, I decided to make some calls. My family's not like mega rich or anything, but we've got connections. My Uncle Rob was on the board of directors of this mid-sized investment firm that was looking to expand their client base. I arranged a chance meeting between Valerie and the hiring manager at some charity thing my mom organized. 2 weeks later, Valerie got an offer for senior account manager, basically skipping 2 levels from where she was before. She was over the moon, thinking it was all because of her amazing interview skills. Laughable, but here's the thing. I didn't just make an introduction. I actually invested a pretty significant chunk of money, like $250,000 from my trust fund, in the firm, under a shell company called Morgan Holdings. Morgan is my mom's maiden name. Real subtle, right? But Valerie never bothered to look into it. She was so excited about her fancy new business cards and corner office that she literally just signed wherever the HR lady pointed, including an agreement giving significant control to the silent investor who provided capital for her division's expansion. Guess who that investor was? Yep. Anyway, I was in my hotel room the morning after staying at Jen's place. That girl is wild. BTW, putting together my game plan. First move, figure out exactly what Valerie's been up to with company finances. Remember how I said I helped set up her accounts? Well, I also made sure I remained listed as an advisory consultant on most of them. Basically gave me backdoor access to see what she was spending. Not that I ever used it. I trusted her. Until now. I logged in, and holy hell, the spending in the last month was insane. A $12,000 designer couch, an $8,000 watch, a weekend trip to Napa Valley for client relations that cost over $5. All on the company card, all poorly disguised as business expenses. Then I got a call from Sally, Valerie's sister. We'd always gotten along pretty well. She's the normal one in Valerie's family. "Jack, you busy? We need to talk." "What's up?" I asked, still scrolling through Valerie's expense reports. "I can't keep quiet anymore. Zeke, the guy Valerie's seeing, he's bad news. Like, really bad. He's done this before. multiple times. Done what, exactly? He targets women in positions like Valerie, romances them, gets them to share confidential info, then disappears once he has what he needs. 3 women at Valerie's company lost their jobs because of him last year. I wasn't even surprised. How do you know all this? Because Valerie's been asking me to hold documents for her. Said it was just in case things went south at work. I looked at them last night, Jack. It's bad. She's been moving serious money around, big purchases hidden as business expenses. And there are emails between her and Zeke discussing confidential client information. Now we were getting somewhere. Can you send me copies? Already did. Check your email. Sure enough, there they were. Dozens of documents showing Valerie had been embezzling company funds and leaking confidential information to Zeke. Information about upcoming mergers, client portfolios, investment strategies that could literally tank the company if it got into the wrong hands. And the best part? All on her work email, the one I helped set up. The one with the recovery phone number that goes to my phone because Valerie was too busy to deal with security when she started. It was time to make some moves. First, I called my lawyer, Dave. We play golf together sometimes, and he helped with my parents' estate planning. I gave him the rundown and emailed over the most important documents. Jesus Christ, Jack, Dave said. This is serious stuff. Embezzlement, corporate espionage. She could face actual jail time for this. I'm not looking to put her in jail, I explained. I just want to make sure she doesn't walk away with everything we've built. Everything I've built. Dave was quiet for a minute. Okay, here's what we do. Next, I texted Valerie. Just had an interesting chat about those expense reports, particularly the ones from last month. The couch looks great in our living room, by the way. Italian, right? The company might want to know where the money came from, though. Her response was immediate. What are you talking about? I kept going. Oh, and Zeke's history with the company makes for fascinating reading. 3 settlements in 2 years. Impressive resume. The typing indicator appeared and disappeared several times. Then, Jack, we need to talk. After my meeting with the ethics committee tomorrow, her panic was palpable. What meeting? I didn't respond. Instead, I posted another picture with Jen. This time, from breakfast at this fancy place downtown. Jen looked amazing in the morning light, all tousled hair and bright eyes. The post got like 50 likes in 10 minutes, including from several of our mutual friends. Valerie's sister, Sally, called again. She was freaking out. Valerie called me screaming about some ethics meeting and asking if I took her documents. I played dumb, but Jack, I'm worried about what she might do. Just stay clear of her today, I advised. Things are about to get complicated. I spent the rest of the day making calls and setting up for tomorrow. Got meetings with the head honcho at Valerie's company, their security guy, and the money lady who'd been giving Valerie the side eye about her spending for months, but couldn't nail her down. Time to drop the hammer. By evening, everything was in place. I met Jen for dinner at this little Thai place where nobody from Valerie's work would go. She was wearing this tight green dress that made me forget about revenge for about 2 hours. So, what's the plan for tomorrow? Jen asked over dessert. Full nuclear option? She shook her head. Controlled demolition. I don't want to destroy the company, just extract Valerie from it with minimal damage to everyone else. She raised an eyebrow. That's surprisingly merciful of you. I shrugged. The company didn't do anything wrong, and there are people there who depend on their jobs, including you, Jen pointed out. Especially me, I agreed. And she gave me that look again, the one that'd been making me forget my own name since last night. My phone buzzed with a notification. It was our home security system, motion detected in the home office. I opened the app to see Valerie frantically going through filing cabinets, pulling out folders and throwing papers everywhere. She was looking for evidence, for the paperwork that would show how deep my involvement with her career went. What she didn't know was that all the important stuff was in a safe deposit box across town. The safe behind our honeymoon photo that she was currently trying to pry open contained nothing but a single note I left there months ago. You should have read the fine print. I showed Jen the security feed, and she nearly spat out her wine laughing. Oh my God, she looks insane. Valerie called 7 more times that night. I let them all go to voicemail. The last one actually made me pause. Jack, please. Whatever you think you know, it's not what it looks like. Zeke isn't who you think he is. He's been helping me with my career. Please. Just call me back before you do something we'll both regret. Too late for that, Valerie. About 8 years too late. I fell asleep in Jen's bed with a strange sense of peace. I knew that the next day, Valerie was going to learn exactly who she'd been married to all these years. And it wasn't the pushover she thought I was. The last thing I did before falling asleep was send one final text to Valerie. Check your email at 8:00 am tomorrow. Pay special attention to the attachment from March 15th. March 15th, the day she signed the partnership agreement 5 years ago. The one she clearly never read carefully enough. Game on. I woke up at 5:30 am, feeling like it was Christmas morning. Today was the day Valerie realized exactly how thoroughly she'd screwed herself. I carefully slid out of bed, trying not to wake Jen, and grabbed my laptop. First order of business, sending that email I promised Valerie. I attached the partnership agreement from 5 years ago, the one where she was clearly listed as a managing partner whose position was contingent on approval from Morgan Holdings. The one that gave the primary investor, aka me, authority to review all financial decisions. The one with a very specific clause about ethical violations resulting in immediate asset review. I also attached screenshots of her expense reports for the last 3 months, with all the personal purchases highlighted in bright yellow. The $12,000 Scouch, the $8,000 watch she bought Zeke, the weekend trips, all neatly categorized and cross-referenced with social media posts proving they were personal expenses, not business-related. And finally, I sent screenshots of her emails with Zeke, discussing confidential client information. Information she had absolutely no right to share with anyone, let alone an employee of a competing firm. I hit send at exactly 8:00 am, then opened the home security app to watch the show. Sure enough, Valerie was in the kitchen with her phone, still wearing yesterday's clothes. She looked like a disaster, mascara smeared, hair a mess. Guess she had a rough night, destroying our home office, looking for documents that weren't there. Her phone pinged. She picked it up, opened the email. I wished the camera had better resolution, because watching the color drain from her face was priceless. She dropped into a chair, scrolling frantically through the attachments. Then she started calling me again. I declined the call and texted. No time to talk. Meeting with the CEO in 30 minutes. That got her moving. She ran upstairs, presumably to shower and change. Meanwhile, I was getting dressed myself, putting on my best suit. The one Valerie always said made me look intimidatingly successful. I grabbed an Uber to Valerie's company headquarters, this fancy glass building downtown that practically screamed, "We manage rich people's money here." The receptionist buzzed me into the main conference room, where the CEO and executive team were waiting. When I walked in, the company bigwigs were already there, including a woman I'll call Gloria, the money lady, who'd always looked at Valerie suspiciously. Jack, the CEO, stood to shake my hand. "Thanks for bringing this to our attention." The door burst open, and Valerie rushed in, looking like she got dressed in a tornado. Hair still wet, blouse buttoned wrong, total mess. "Jack, what are you doing here?" Her voice cracked when she saw me. I smiled pleasantly. "Just showing your bosses how you've been stealing company money and leaking secrets." "This is a setup," Valerie sputtered. Then suddenly, her eyes narrowed. "Wait! I saw you with Jen last night. You posted it on Instagram. Is that what this is all about?" I ignored her accusation and slid the folder toward the CEO. Bank statements, expense reports, and emails showing everything. "This is revenge because I cheated," Valerie yelled, getting louder. "You're my coworker. And now you're trying to destroy me. The CEO cleared his throat. Valerie, your personal drama isn't our concern. The $12,000 scouch and leaked documents, however, are. This is all because of Jen, Valerie screamed, completely losing it. She's wanted him for years. They planned this together. Zeke Marshall was caught trying to access our servers this morning, Gloria cut in coldly. Security removed him from the building. Valerie collapsed into a chair, the fight draining out of her. That's not possible. But how did you access everything? She finally asked, looking defeated. Morgan Holdings, I replied calmly. That's me. I'm your silent investor. The color drained from her face as everything clicked. You set me up. No, Valerie, you set yourself up. I just built in a fail-safe. As security escorted her out, she turned back, with tears streaming down her face. Was it worth it? Destroying me just to be with her? How long have you two been planning this? This has nothing to do with Jen, I replied. This is about your choices. The embezzlement, the corporate espionage. Cheating was just the beginning. You, Jack, she spat, you'll regret this. After security escorted Valerie out, the CEO turned to me. That was intense. You okay? I'm fine, I said. Just glad it's over. We owe you for catching this, he said. Could have cost us millions if it continued. We'll handle it quietly. She can resign or face charges. We wrapped up in 20 minutes flat. As I was leaving, the CEO added, For what it's worth, I'm sorry about your marriage. But the company appreciates your discretion. I nodded and headed out. No need to explain that I'd been planning for this possibility for years. As I was leaving the building, my phone exploded with notifications. Mac texted, Dude, check your security cameras. Valerie's destroying your house. I pulled up the app to see Valerie throwing things and screaming. She was tearing through drawers and smashing picture frames. I couldn't hear the audio, but it was clear she was completely lost it. I texted Mac, let her rage. Nothing important there anyway. By the time I met Jen for lunch, Valerie had called 37 times and left 14 voicemails. The last one actually made me pause. You and that bitch have been planning this all along, haven't you? I saw the way she looked at you at the Christmas party. Was she why you wanted the divorce? You wanted her instead, so you destroyed me. I will burn your life down, I swear to God. You think you're so smart with your Morgan Holdings? I will make you regret this, both of you. I was still staring at my phone when Jen reached across the table and took my hand. Everything okay? You look stressed. I deleted the voicemail and squeezed her hand. Valerie's not taking it well. She thinks we planned this together. Jen raised an eyebrow. Seriously? I didn't even know you were interested until you called me yesterday. Yeah, well, it's easier to blame us than accept responsibility, I said. Don't worry about it, I say confidently. She is just the smart, gorgeous woman who happened to be in the right place at the right time. The next morning, I met with Dave, my lawyer. Jack, he started, it's beautiful. The ethical violation clause triggers an immediate review of all personal assets acquired during the partnership period, he continued. Beautiful? How and what exactly does that mean for Valerie? I asked. Dave ticked things off on his fingers. The house, purchased with a loan you guaranteed through your family's bank connections. Her BMW company lease you arranged. The vacation property in Tahoe, joint asset but primarily funded by your investments. Even her designer wardrobe, mostly purchased using company funds you helped her access. So basically everything, I summarized. Basically everything, Dave confirmed. She'll be left with her personal savings account, about $118,000 based on the statements you provided, and those student loans you've been paying. You mean the student loans I stopped paying last month? I corrected him. Dave's eyebrows shot up. Damn! You really thought of everything. I learned from the best, I said, nodding at him. We spent the next hour mapping out the strategy. By noon, papers were filed, accounts were frozen, and the wheels of justice started turning. I headed back to the hotel to find Jen waiting in the lobby, looking stunning as always. "How'd it go with the lawyer?" she asked as we walked to a nearby cafe for lunch. "Let's just say Valerie's about to learn what financial ruin really means," I answered. "You sound brutal," Jen said. "Deserved, but brutal," I shrugged. She didn't just cheat on me, she tried to completely screw over my career too. If I hadn't fed her fake information about those projects, I could have been implicated in insider trading. I could have faced actual jail time. When I said it that way, Jen nodded slowly. "Still, people at work already think I'm the reason your marriage ended." "Let them think whatever they want," I replied, reaching for her hand across the table. "We know the truth, which is that Valerie demolished our marriage all by herself, and you're just the smart, gorgeous woman who happened to be in the right place at the right time." My phone buzzed. It was Sally. Valerie showed up at my apartment at 3:00 a.m., completely hysterical, screaming about how I betrayed her by giving you those documents. I arranged to meet her at the hotel lobby after lunch. When she arrived, Sally looked exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes. "You okay?" I asked, genuinely concerned. Sally's always been the normal one in Valerie's family. "I'm fine." I told her she betrayed herself by cheating on you and committing actual crimes. Sally rubbed her temples. "She's staying with our parents now. They think you're the devil, by the way. Convince them you set Valerie up from the beginning." I shrugged. "Not from the beginning, just from the moment I realized she was the kind of person who might need setting up." Sally actually laughed at that. "You know what the craziest part is? Zeke dumped her the second things went south, called her damaged goods, and blocked her number." "Not surprised," I said. "He got what he wanted, or thought he did about that fancy couch, that $12,000 Italian monstrosity Valerie bought to impress Zeke." She began. I nodded, sensing another layer of betrayal was about to be revealed. "What happened?" "Turns out she didn't just use regular company funds. She used money from a special account specifically set up for the upcoming merger. The same merger Zeke was gathering intel on for that competing company. So not only did she embezzle, she literally stole from the exact project her boyfriend was trying to sabotage. You can't make this up. The pieces were all falling into place now. I knew Valerie couldn't resist wealth, fancy cars, designer bags. I began laying a trap. Every conversation about work, every deal I mentioned over dinner, was carefully planted misinformation. The real projects were locked behind NDAs she never knew existed. So when she fed Zeke what she thought was insider info, Valerie's company ended up chasing ghosts, wasting millions on deals that never existed. Everything unraveled fast. Within 2 weeks, Zeke got fired. Turns out, once you're exposed as a corporate spy, no one wants you. Valerie, realizing her life was crumbling, bombarded me with desperate messages blaming me for ruining her. I had Dave send a cease and desist, and that was that. She even tried fighting the prenup, but the judge dismissed it outright, citing her crimes. The truth is, she made her choices. And in the end, the better choice was always mine. Karma delivered one right to my door a few weeks later. A courier showed up with a padded envelope. Inside, a house key and a note in Valerie's handwriting. "I understand now. You didn't just help build my career, you designed it." The note was sealed off with a self-destruct sequence. There was no apology, just cold recognition of the power I had wielded. Part 6. Epilogue. The divorce was final. Mac dropped by my new downtown loft for coffee. "Divorce looks good on you," he joked. "Revenge looks better," I replied. "Was all this worth it, though?" he asked. "The years of planning, was all this worth it, though?" he asked. The years of planning, setting up those fail-safes. It wasn't about revenge, it was protection. Like insurance you hope never to use. Still, did you have to take everything? "Sally says she's working at Target now." I shrugged. "She made her choices. Everything after was just consequences." What happened to that Zeke guy? Unemployable in finance. Moved to Florida. Florida man strikes again. Mac laughed. And you and Jen? Right on cue, Jen walked in with takeout. Things between us are good. Taking it slow, but she practically lives here now. No games, no manipulation, just something real. Later, I showed Jen Valerie's note. Are you going to respond? She asked. Nothing to say. It's over. And it was. My career exploded upward, leading the expansion division after our merger tripled the stock price. My options are now worth 7 figures. Valerie could have shared in all this. Instead, she's in her childhood bedroom, working retail. The last piece of irony, that $12,000 Scouch Valerie bought with company money now sits in my corner office. A trophy symbolizing her downfall. Sally texted yesterday. From an unknown number, Valerie saw your promotion announcement. Cried for hours this morning. You planned this all along, didn't you? I didn't respond. Some questions answer themselves. Would I have triggered those fail-safes if she hadn't cheated? No. I built them for protection, not destruction. But once she crossed that line and put my career at risk, all bets were off. You know what the best revenge is? Jen asked last night. What? She murmured. Living well. And you're crushing it, she replied, giving my hand a gentle squeeze. She was right. The best revenge isn't destroying someone's world. It's letting them destroy it themselves while thinking they're winning, then building something better from the ruins. Valerie thought she found someone better. Turns out I did too. Sometimes the best things in life aren't free. They're just paid for by someone else's mistakes.